Welcome everyone to the Cambridge Power Platforms User Group's Spring 2024 event. We've got a fantastic lineup of people here for you today, and I'm so glad you're here. So with that, when you're attending, we'd like to make you aware of a few things. We just asked you to be courteous, so please be aware of others, be friendly and patient, welcoming, respectful, open to all questions and viewpoints, understanding of differences, be kind and considerate to others, and be aware that we are recording. So if you don't want to be seen, turn the camera off and don't make yourself seen. So unfortunately, Sharon is not available today, so I will be hosting in her stead. My name is Sancho Harker. I am a business apps MVP for 4 years now, nearly 5 years. And I work alongside Sharon as well. So you see at the bottom there where it says works with an awesome and highly skilled team. We've got people like me, Luke, and Amber who are awesome. So yeah, I've been also been a super user in the Power Apps community forum for 5 years now. And I have a blog and I do all sorts of cool things. You can look me online later. I'm not the important one today. The speakers are. So today we have a huge group of wonderful people. We have Gertrude Toronto, we have Liz Sundet, and we have Zoe Wilson and Kevin McDonald. Just get the slides back up. There we go. Right. So Liz is a program manager, Microsoft, former MVP, like all of us, and legend in the community. So Liz today will be talking about getting started with Viva Amplify. I have like no knowledge of Viva, so this is going to be super entertaining for me because I need to learn more.
So that's what we're all here for.
So Liz, with that, would you like to start your presentation?
Absolutely. So we will take it away. And this is going to be very much of an overview to start. And then I'm going to go into like a big demo. And, feel free to post questions in the chat, ask questions, all of those types of things. It's great to be here. Great to see so many people that I recognize. Hello, Kevin. Calling you out. But awesome that we are all on this journey of learning together. Thank you very much, Gertrude, for your story and your passion around being a student ambassador. I've come across many of the student ambassadors at many of the events that I have done, and they are great volunteers. They are there to learn as well. But great meeting you virtually and hearing a little bit about your story as well. So hope to hear many, many good things from you as you grow in your technology passion and move forward. So a little bit about me. I am going to, just share a little bit. I am a senior program manager at Microsoft. I've been working on Microsoft Viva Amplify for the last 2 years. So quite a while, working with customers. That is really one of my passions, is meeting new people and working with those customers on a daily basis. And you can think of me as a customer engineer, where I don't work on building the features for the product, but boy, oh boy, do I get to influence what happens in that product based on the customer feedback that I get to hear from different people. I was a former MVP, or I am a former MVP, I guess, and was in Office Apps and Services before I joined Microsoft. For those of you that don't know, once you join Microsoft, you lose your MVP. So, but with the community, you kind of always feel like once an MVP, always an MVP. And I have a passion of putting back learning and, growth and my expertise back into the community. So, I have a travel bug and like to go many places that take me back to working with that community and that type of thing. So you'll see a few, pictures here of some places that I visited. This one happens to be in Haarlem, Netherlands, which is one of my favorite places. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit about the value proposition of Viva Amplify. Like, what can it do and how does it help for our organization. And then I'm going to go into a live demo. I have some copy that I've written this morning on the Cambridge Power Platform user group, which is where we are at today. So we're going to do a campaign based on this user group. So kind of a weird inception thing, I know, but that's all right. So I'm going to go through a live demo, and then I've got lots and lots of resources for you to be able to get started in your journey learning Viva Amplify. There are, even if you don't have a license for any of the Viva products, there are, codes that are available for, you to be able to try it out, put it into your own tenant, all of those kinds of things. So lots and lots of stuff that we can cover in that regard. But let's start out with, some research, because all good presentations start with really impactful research, right? Well, maybe not. I'm not sure. But we did this work trend index, and we got a lot of report back from that work trend index. And it's really, really insightful to see how engaged employees are really very, very different than those employees that have quietly quit, if we can, just call them out for that. That those employees that are really engaged, they really like what they're doing, they're going to report that, yeah, well, I have a sense of belonging. I feel like I'm adding value to my company. I'm adding value to my coworkers. That they're more likely to report that, they have a really good relationship with their senior leadership, or they're confident in the direction that they're going in. And, 46% are likely to report that, yeah, I get a lot of really good communications. And even Microsoft, some of the changes that we've made to the communications, it's no lie that Satya, when we get email messages from Satya, I think I've seen one in the last couple of years since we've made this strategy shift to Satya being more available and using Viva Engage rather than using email. And that's really interesting in that, he's very active on that platform and has a lot of great things to say. But when you get an email from Satya, it's like, oh gosh, what's going on, right? And even some of our other leadership, Jeff Teeper and Charles, all of those types of people, they're doing things just a little bit different, but yet they're still really good at doing those communications as well. So that's just something to think about. But in transitioning now to how that impacts our effective communications, that's where driving that engagement starts, right? We have to feel like we belong to that community and that we're getting those effective communications in order to really, have that motivation, that engagement. So that's really where it starts. And this is a way of how we think about where we are putting those employee communications. Now, traditionally, yeah, I spent my entire, most of my entire career talking about corporate intranets, right? That thing that's in the little bottom square there. Yeah, corporate intranets, they're still valuable, right? That's where people go to find out what's for lunch and find out where your stock price is at, right? Like, no, not always, but that's where you go for those valuable resources and what triggers people to be able to take advantage of getting to other sources of information very, very quickly, as well as finding out, hey, what's going on in the company? I am a remote worker. I don't go into an office. Do I rely on our intranet for stories and things that I might have missed? And yeah, absolutely. So I use that type of area. And then we might have a company app, whether that be on our phones or, something that's sending me notifications, sending me those messages. But gosh, if I just want to go and, maybe find out like how other people are doing something, because I'm kind of stuck and I need a little source of inspiration. That I might be going to our social communities and finding out, hey, how are things going in your neck of the woods, or how are you approaching this, or gosh, I just need somebody to, kind of float an idea around and get some feedback on. So, a lot of those social areas that Viva Engage brings to us. And then there's this idea of communications management as well. And that's what we're going to really focus on today, is that communications management, where all of those communicators, and yes, we can start with corporate communicators, but guess what? I've learned over time that a lot of other people in the company are communicators, right? Even if they don't have that role or that title in corporate communications, they are corporate communicators, right? So want to give them the opportunity, the space to be able to create, publish, measure all of that content all in one place. And I apologize if you can hear my dog. She is quite vocal this morning. I'm not sure if the garbage man is outside or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, she just wanted to be part of this meeting. So let's talk a little bit about Viva Amplify. Now, Viva Amplify is a premium product. You do have to have a license to be able to use Viva Amplify. However, it does quite a bit of things, especially when you think about the time that it is to, like, say, create a SharePoint news post and then go to an Outlook and create almost the exact same post, and then go to a Teams, channel message and create another post. And that honestly was my job. I work with customers. And so when I would have large customer meetings, I would produce, hey, here's what happened in the meeting. This is, a recap. This is what the things that we want you to do before the next meeting. Here's the team. Here's the deck that we shared. Here's the video that we produced. And I would send that out. And it would take me a couple of hours on a Friday. Nobody wants to spend a couple of hours on a Friday doing the same thing like over and over. They just want to get to the weekend, right? But it would take me a couple of hours on a Friday to do the SharePoint news post and post it to a couple of different SharePoint sites, and then go into my Teams area. And I had a general channel and I had a meeting recap channel, and I'd have to do pretty much the same post for both of those channels, and then go over to email and do the same thing. And even with copying and pasting, it wasn't quite the same. I would spend a couple of hours. I started using Viva Amplify, half an hour, 20 minutes to a half an hour that I would do this stuff. I templatized all of that information, and it was even quicker for me to be able to do that. So it made it easier to communicate really, really quickly. It made the communications way better because I just had to do it once. And then, driving that engagement with that message and being able to measure, gosh, how many people are reading this thing that I've just produced and spent a whole lot of time in. I want to know that, so I can make it better in the future and all those kinds of things. So that's really how we're going to be thinking about Viva Amplify. It's that planning, that managing, orchestrating all of those different pieces and being able to design and create that content at one time and then publish it out to all of those different areas, but have the ability to be able to change it in those different channels as needed as well, before I can measure how effective is that communication going out. And it was really interesting to see when I first started doing some of the Viva Amplify campaigns, like my regular stories would get, maybe, like 500 people across my organization looking at my messages, commenting on my messages. It's great when Jeff Teeper gives you a thumbs up or, comments, that type of thing. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I did it. But, to see as I transformed into using some of the Viva Amplify and being able to push that message out to different areas, my engagement doubled immediately. Like I went to 1,000 people looking at my information, and then it even grew higher, 1,300, 1,400 people across my organization reading the news posts that I would be doing on customer stories and what we're doing with those customers. So who is Amplify for? I mentioned there is a lot of different communicators. Yes, we target those people that are in corporate comms. They're kind of the easy ones to get to. But guess what? There's a whole lot of other people that I've never worked in corporate comms, and I can use a tool like this to be able to work with, and produce the content. Now, I saw a question about languages, and yes, you can produce the content in any language. And we have, I believe it's like quite a few different languages that you can actually create. The UI UX component will be seen in, but you can create your content in any language. If you have to do multiple languages, it's not going to automatically translate for you in some cases. So it might be a couple of different posts that you do, but yes, you can create your content in any type of language. But back to who this is for. We have business leadership, those support personnel, the chief of staff, that executive admin that might be doing a post on behalf of, right? We have that capability to be able to do those. Functional roles, change managers, IT managers. We got some new functionality coming out. Go take a look at it. Or we're releasing this big new thing. Absolutely. Like, this is how you tell them how to use it, right? I love the fact that Viva Pulse came out about the same time as Viva Amplify, and people were like asking me questions like, hey, what's the difference between Viva Glint, Viva Pulse, and Viva Amplify? In one sentence, I got challenged by that. And I was like, ooh, somebody else came up with a really great statement. It was Viva Glint is for your organization, Viva Pulse is for your managers, and Viva Amplify is how you tell them how to use it. And I was like, oh, that's so great, right? But yeah, those might be real scenarios that you need to think about. And then those communication creators, that's where I fit in as a program manager. Just, hey, I've got to get this word out on what is happening with this particular meeting, status updates, team updates, all of those types of things that you just want to share some information around. Yeah, we know communications can be really hard, but if you do it really well, gosh, better engagement from your employees overall. So we're giving you the tools to be able to do some of that. And with that, I'm happy to take questions, but I'm going to switch over to doing a live demo. We like that? All right, so I've got my demo already up and running. So you'll see, if you've worked with SharePoint at all, this is on a SharePoint site. Yes, we are starting in SharePoint. When I create a campaign, it's going to create me like a separate SharePoint site as a container that I can then work with some other employees in my company. If you don't have other employees, that's okay. We can, you can work with it that way as well. But, it makes it all better when you can collaborate with a few other people. But what I'm going to show today is let's just start by creating a campaign. And we're going to call this the Cambridge Power Platform User Group. Okay. And all right. Now, the question on languages, I've got English selected here. I don't speak English very well, much less any other language. So, but Yeah, lots and lots of different languages that you can choose from. I'm going to leave it in English. This would switch the UI. So any of the things that we see, any of the button names, all of that type of stuff, that's going to switch the UI. The content, you can write in any language. All right. So not any problem with the language at all there. Kevin, what's your favorite color?
Red for Liverpool FC, obviously.
What was that?
Red for Liverpool FC, obviously.
Red. I don't really have a red. Is the orange okay?
Okay, we'll go have another orange. I was trying not to be corporate.
Yeah. It's not a true red. It's a little off from red. By the way, red's
orange.
my favorite color as well. So, okay. I'm going to add a couple of people because, I like to work with Adele and Megan just as much as anybody else using a demo tenant. So we're going to add them into our campaign members. I can switch them from an editor to maybe an owner or an approver. All of those capabilities are part of this. All right. I'm not going to necessarily show all of those capabilities, but we're going to see, hey, I can add Adele as a backup owner to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a campaign. This creates an M365 group, it creates a SharePoint site, and it creates a Teams instance with a mailbox, all for you within a matter of just a few seconds. Just like many of our other products, it's going to rely on that group functionality. So if you don't have group permissions turned on in your organization, you're going to have to enter some ticketing, some governance types of things to be able to do this. All right. But if you have that availability to be able to create that M365 group, voila, here we are in our campaign now. And I've got a few templates that, I can use as starting points. I can also create my own templates and, have it show up in that view more templates. So maybe there's, that status update that I want to have as a template and then just update those things, on a weekly basis. Absolutely. Yeah, I can do that. Makes it really easy for me to go forward with. We're first going to show the campaign brief. This is a place for you to really just open text, words, get all of your ideas, your thoughts down on paper, so to speak, but also be able to share that with the other people that are working on this campaign with you. You might, put some assignments out for those different people. Hey, you're going to work on this brief, or you're going to work on this brief, those types of things, and put all of that campaign objective together, as well as those key messages. You don't have to use this. This is just a really nice area for you to kind of get your team together on the overall strategy for this. Next, we're going to show you the publications. And so I'm going to start a new publication here. And once I click this new button, it really should look very similar, especially if you've used a SharePoint news post. It will look like a SharePoint news post. Why is that? Well, that's because it is a SharePoint news post. So, and then of course, yes, I get something went wrong in this, right? Yay, awesome. All right, let's just go and try this once again and see if I get that to clear up. Awesome. All right. So I know, yep, things happen, right? Especially with live demos. So let's go and search for an image, and let's just look for something. I like to use, let's use this one. All right. And let's just set this a little bit different. I actually like the color block in the overlap here. So let's do Cambridge Power Platform User Group. Okay, I can change who this is coming from and post on the behalf of that person if I have that capability already set up in my organization. for now, I'm signed in as the system administrator. We're just going to leave that one set as the system administrator. And then next, I'm going to put in some of my copy. Luckily for me, I had my wonderful, wonderful co-pilot friend this morning called ChatGPT actually create some copy for me based on the Cambridge Power Platform user group. So I'm just going to reformat some of the things that I want to on here because I just did a copy and a paste just from a Word document, which works just fine. So we're just going to reformat just a little bit here. I can make it so that everything, just go ahead and highlight this and make it so that everything is either, centered. I don't really like that. Let's change that back. And then I'm just going to center this. Okay. And then I'm going to center this on the bottom as well. Okay. And I can add additional web parts. So you'll notice that I've got a little bit less in terms of the web parts. I've got text, I've got images, I've got quick links, I've got buttons. I've got some file and media, so I can put in a PowerPoint deck, I can put in a stream video, all of that kind of stuff. And then I've got, news, people, events. I got that people web part. But it's a trimmed down version of all of the web parts that we might have available in SharePoint. And that's because we're producing this content for many other channels as well. And some of those channels don't necessarily like custom code embedded into SharePoint, right? It can't, like an email doesn't know what to do with that. And it comes across as, garbled text, for instance. So that might be just something to think about. I can also, edit my sections and all these types of things. You'll see, gosh, there's not a whole lot for different background colors and such. I thought there'd be more than that. But the beauty of this is that when I post it to another SharePoint site, it's going to automatically take that theme from the other SharePoint site. So I don't have to do anything with the colors. The colors is what it is for, Outlook and, Teams. It's going to work a little bit different because Teams doesn't necessarily have some of these picture messages and that type of thing. But, I want to be able to, at least kind of push my message into some of these section headers or background shading if I wanted to. Yeah, I've got that capability to be able to use that. All right. I'm going to add a couple of people to this. And great team of Sharon and Amber and all those people. Unfortunately, I don't have them in this tenant, so they're going to be, Adele and Megan and Diego and maybe Ned Mester. Okay. So I've got these, where I can set these up with, different types of ways of looking at those particular contacts. I like the small ones. We're good with that. But this is how we format, a new publication. All right. I've got my distribution channels that I'm going to look at next. And I've got Outlook, I've got SharePoint, and I've got Teams selected right now. Viva Engage, we're going to be bringing within a couple of months. Okay, so you'll be able to post from Viva Amplify into Viva Engage in just a couple of months. But I wanted to show you, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams. I think it's pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to send this out to the whole company, and I'm going to post it onto the main corporate intranet site on our SharePoint. And then I'm going to, select a couple of teams. Now, it's only going to show those areas that are available to me as the poster. So I can't, if I couldn't send to all company, guess what? I can't do it through Viva Amplify either. Okay, so all of those type of controls and provisions from, keeping you from doing, silly things within your work environment that might lead you to a career limiting move, we're preventing you from doing those types of things. All right, so first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the Outlook, and you'll see that my page has, shifted a little bit to format for an Outlook email. Okay, looks a little bit different, but overall, it's pretty good. Yeah, I like this. All right. And then I'm going to just send it out to my entire company. So it will work on distribution lists, the default groups that you have, M365 groups, anything that you have available to you, sending out to individuals. But this is all with those limitations that we would expect for, any of our M365 products. Okay, so I'm going to search for all company. Oh, I have it right here. I'm just going to select that and then do a save here. So it's going to be sending it out to all company. I can send myself a test email message just to see how it looks. It's going to come from me and to me. So I can see how it looks and all that type of stuff. But we're not going to take a look at that. We're just going to send it out to the entire company. I can add my SharePoint sites next. The landing, I know, is my corporate intranet. I know that because it's, the root site, and I've been there many times, but I've got 9 additional sites that I could send this to. And so just for fun, we're going to, put it to the leadership area as well. And then my Teams works a little bit different. You're going to see that main picture that I had at the top. It's not available on Teams. Why? Because Teams doesn't have a picture in like that header piece of information. If I wanted other pictures, yes, I could add that in at this point, or I could put that in more of the body of the message, and Teams will pick up those pictures, but it's removing that type of header, that first picture. I can choose whether I have this as a post or as an announcement, and then I can choose who's able to reply to those types of things as well. And then I'm selecting the channels, the Teams channels that are available to me as I am a member of those particular channels. So I'm just going to push this to our design project right now. All right. Maybe not be the case in your organization, but for this, purposes, we're going to push that to that particular channel as well. All right. Now, I'm going to just go through a publish now for sake of, time of this demo and all that type of stuff, but I could schedule it if I wanted to. A future date and time, could schedule that. I could also have those approvers set up in this environment and then request that they go in and approve it. And with those approvers, I could then, say, hey, I want to manually publish it once it gets approved. I want to schedule to publish once it gets approved. I can have multiple, people that I have to request approval from, all of those types of intricacies that I want to be able to have on my publications before I go ahead and publish it. So all of that workflow is available. It uses a Teams app for the approvers to be able to go in and look at the content only and be able to, give some feedback on that content or just, approve it, all of that type of stuff. As we know from anybody that has ever done kind of approval workflows, probably a great group of people. I'm guessing the approver workflows has been, probably one of the most common flows that the Power Platform group has worked with in the past. So, but for this instance, I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and publish now. It's going to give me a summary of all the places that I'm sending it out to. So I can look and make sure that I didn't, trip up and, push it someplace that, gosh, I'm not quite ready for that. I could make changes by going back and, resetting those, but I'm ready to go. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to publish this. It's going to take a little bit of time and we're going to just watch it while it goes through all this publishing, but it's going to, give me a notification of where it's sending it to, who it's posting it to, all of that type of stuff. Doesn't take too long, but this is a great opportunity for you to ask any questions. And I have not been watching the chat, so I'm wondering if somebody could help me maybe, take a look at the chat, or if you want to come off mute and ask your question, we can certainly do that as well. Hoping that Copilot ends up here soon. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. The stock images, yeah, so the stock images are the same ones that you find in PowerPoint. Yes, absolutely. Fernando is busy typing. does the campaign canvas allow for videos, Power BI reports, etc.? So yes, on the videos, as long as they are housed in Stream. Okay, so we don't have like an integration with, oh, let's just put a YouTube video out there. Not quite yet. So we could absolutely do the stream video, but haven't like gone out to like capture YouTube links and all of that type of stuff. But it does work for video. Power BI reports is a little bit different. I have not played around with that. A picture of a Power BI report that you just take as a static picture, absolutely, yes, can do that. Haven't played around with like the Power BI. Usually there's like a separate web part for Power BI. So maybe if you have a link to a report or something that's housed on Fabric, you could probably do that, but I have not played around with that. PowerPoint deck, yeah, absolutely, all of those kinds of things, you can do those, however. Okay, so I can see that all of this is sent out. It's now posted, all of those areas. So let's go check it out at the landing. I've got it actually a link directly to the landing. So we're going to go and check this out. Anyone notice what happened? The colors changed. I had the bright blue with the, the color before, and now it changed to kind of that teal green because that was the theme for this particular site that I posted it to. So, but this is, this is my SharePoint page. Yeah, looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and like that. Maybe add a comment. Okay. And then I can also go back to my publication. I can see that it was posted in leadership as well. So this one is a blue theme. Okay, so I had it kept as the blue theme kind of thing. All right, awesome. Okay, I can also see that, hey, it's been posted to my Teams, it's been posted to Outlook. If I were to go into Outlook, I could see exactly what that looks like as well. So let's just take a little trip into Outlook and we can see exactly what that looks like as well. So I can see it, it's going to be in my sent items. It's also going to be in my inbox eventually, but let's just take a look here and see my Power Platform user group. So I'm looking at it from my sent items. I did the send. I'd have to log in to see somebody else's to see what it actually looks like. But this is exactly what it will look like when I get it, in an email. And it is the full page of the email that comes through. So I could, do some type of sentiment, do a thumbs up, do a like here. I could forward it on, all of those kinds of things. So maybe let's just do a forward and say Megan and Adele. Nope. Yep, I want Adele. There we go. And great work on this. Awesome to see. All right, and I'm going to send that out. We all have those managers that like send out, resend a communication, right? Like this was very, very important. You should read this, added their little, things to it. We get those from time to time, right? Yeah, absolutely. So looked at, kind of all of these different areas, that type of thing. Looks pretty good. Awesome. All right. So let's go back and, we show that it is published now. I can go back to my main area of my publications and it will show up there after a quick refresh. It's going to show that, yes, it was published. And, oh, wow, I'm getting reporting already. That's kind of cool. All right. Reporting is immediate. All right. I've looked at this in Outlook. I've looked at it in Teams. I've looked at it in SharePoint. I've looked at it in a couple of different places. So it's also saying, hey, I've promoted this to a couple of different areas, right? So I've got this, the Cambridge Platform user group. This is on my overall, campaign. And now I can look at the publication as well. So the campaign is going to match the publication for right now because the only one that I have out there for the campaign. But I can go in and I can look at the report that's specific to that publication as well. and see where people have promoted, where people have done, comments and all those types of things in the background, right? We didn't specifically look at Teams, but I have some stuff that's working in the background with different users picking up some of that content and that type of thing as well in this environment. So, so that's what's happening in the background, and that's, the large part of, all of the demo stuff that I wanted to present today. So let's just go back to the PowerPoint deck, and we will continue on. I've got some resources that I wanted to share with people as well. So let's just take a look at some of those resources. I have worked very, very hard on putting these resources out on adoption.microsoft.com. There is, for those reader kind of learners, there is a full PowerPoint deck that you can go through and learn how to think about scenarios, think about, putting in the licensing, all of those kinds of things, being able to showcase, how-tos in terms of like creating your first campaign and publishing it and all those types of things. For those people that are not reader learners, there is a YouTube channel that we have for a bunch of M365 types of products. And I have a Viva Amplify section on that. So you can go out and see, hey, how do I start a campaign? Liz has got a video out there already. I'm going to be producing a video next week as well on how to do a template. So if you've missed anything in this presentation, you can go back and watch just some of the Viva Amplify stuff as well. Okay, and so that's one of the resources that I have out there. A lot of different adoption material. And if you need some help getting started with like, hey, I have no idea what kind of a campaign that I would create. Well, guess what? There's lots of ideas that are already out there. They have a couple lines of copy to help you get started and, take it away. Lots and lots of different ideas that could be possible additions in the future. There's also a public website for, Viva Amplify. So you can go out, see, Viva Amplify, see some features, see some demo materials, all of that type of stuff. Get you some, support questions answered, see some pricing and how it's packaged in, some different ways, because it's not a standalone Viva Amplify license. It's packaged with some other types of things, but when it's packaged together, it is a little bit more valuable as well there. I also run a community that is out on our tech community for corporate communicators, and I will post the link to that in the chat. But happy to have people come and join that community. We do have regular meetings. It is not focused on Amplify. It's not focused on anything Microsoft. It is actually more technology agnostic, where we talk more about the role, but also how technology can help in our roles as communicators. And doesn't have to be corporate communicators. It can be, people like me that are really, kind of that technical nerd, as Gutu talked to her about herself this morning. I'm one of those people too. I'm the techno geek kind of person, right? I know a little bit, and things that I can do really, really bad. So join the corporate comms community. Hoping you get some value out of that and that type of thing. I will post a bunch of these resources into the chat for you to be able to, go out and get these types of things for yourself. If you are a partner, there is CDX demo tenants that you can spin up and try out a lot of these different types of features as well. That's exactly what I was using today with Megan and Adele and Nestor and all those people that were on that. Okay. Any questions? I got a couple of minutes for me to take some questions before we switch it over to the next speaker.
Yeah, actually, I had a question. So obviously the measuring engagement is like the best feature ever, but because like you spend so much time crafting all this content, and you've got like no idea if people are actually even reading it or doing anything with it. So like, my question is, you've got the stats that show who's engaged with something. Can you pull from that who hasn't engaged with it to do a follow-up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that while we're exploring, we want to be cognizant and mindful of the privacy that,
Yeah.
maybe that reaches into. And so we haven't developed that particular feature because there's a whole lot of, privacy reviews that we would have to go through and that type of thing to be able to understand, hey, are these people, can we do it anonymously, right? Can we make a distribution list that has
Yes.
some secretive
So
thing,
that is what I was thinking of. Something where you don't
Yeah.
have to actually see who, but if you've like
Yeah.
shotgunned it out, can you go, well, everyone who didn't respond, I want to send a follow-up to, not knowing who they are, just ping it off.
Yeah. There's a reminder, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
So we've thought about it in that regard, but we have not gone through kind of the heavy duty lifting on the development of that at this point. So could that be something in the future? Yes, absolutely. But it basically is something that we would have to investigate. And we're very cognizant of our privacy policies, and we take that very, very seriously. So it's not something that we want to build into the product, given our
Don't want
stance
to rush it
on
out
privacy.
just in case. Yeah. It's always better to be safe.
We want to do it right.
We
want to do it the right
definitely.
way, right? But yeah, there might be some of those things, but right now we're focused a little bit different on some of the higher priority items that have been asked for from the analytics. So the ability to do like click-through analytics, for instance, that's on our roadmap and those types of things. So.
Nice. I have another one actually.
Okay.
So you mentioned the guardrails earlier, which obviously same sort of story. It completely makes sense because we don't want people accidentally doing things that might impact them in any way, really. That's probably the reason why we can't embed YouTube, because I would imagine that could be very easily something that you could get in trouble for if the wrong link was pasted, and then you didn't think about it and you just sent it off to a distribution group of people. It happens. So it's very important that those guardrails are in place, because it's very easy to make a mistake that you'll regret coming back to. So the fact that, that protection is there from the software side is really important.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that is something, that's one of the reasons why we haven't, explored all of those different channels and all those different things, because, hey, we want to at least start with in the ecosystem within Microsoft. And then we could maybe start to explore some of those other things, like maybe it, possible to post to LinkedIn or something like that. But for right now, we just are focused on keeping it within that Microsoft ecosystem and making the best integrations that we possibly can within that ecosystem first and foremost. So
I would imagine something in the future would be like a curated internal list of approved links that can be then inserted, something that you could manage at like a site level or whatever it is.
Yep.
Rather than just letting anyone do whatever.
Absolutely. All right. I do have a hard stop at, the top of the hour here. So I'm going to turn it back over. I know Kevin and Zoe are anxiously waiting to, take the reins from me. And I am very happy to turn it over to them. You've got some great speakers for this particular next session. So I'm just sad I don't get to see all of it, but I will have to check it out on YouTube, and looking forward to seeing Kevin and Zoe at a conference soon. So,
well, that was going to be my question. Are you in Seattle next week, Liz?
I am not going to be in Seattle next week. I'll be there in a few weeks later than that. However,
no.
But I will not be in Seattle next week. But I will be coming over to the European Collaboration Summit in May.
Excellent.
However, so I will see you there if you are there.
Fantastic.
So awesome.
Yeah, we'll both be there.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, thank
Have
you
a great
so much,
day.
Liz, for coming by.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So for everyone watching, this is the last session. If you have any other questions, be sure to check out the recordings. The recordings will be up on YouTube, on Sharon Sumner's YouTube channel. So you can catch them all there in a few days. Thank you again to all our speakers. It was a really, really great session. We had so many great people today, and I learned a lot, which is kind of the point of these things. So it was really good. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending. If anyone wants to hang around after and have a few chats with Kevin, Zoe, and whoever else is left here, feel free.
Thanks very much.
Are you going to Seattle next week, Sancho?